Welcome back to my channel. In this episode, we will be discussing about one roommate who never speaks a word. No joke. This is very interesting. The op decided to rent out his room in his apartment to a guy who ended up being completely silent. Why? Let's find out. The author of this story posted it on Reddit, where he asked people for advice. He starts off the post by saying, "I live in a 2-bedroom apartment with my girlfriend, and I VA rented out the spare bedroom to a guy through an online classifieds website. The guy moved in a week ago, and so far he's barely spoken a word to me or my girlfriend. He does speak some English, but it seems like he prefers to communicate in his native language, which is fine by me. We have a fairly good idea of what he says about us when he talks in his native language, because we know that language pretty well. But there's a problem. He talks a lot, like literally all day long, and we can hear everything. I feel like I have no privacy whatsoever." He then explains how his roommate situation started. He continues, "When we posted the ad for our spare room, we got a ton of responses, most of which were weirdos asking if they could move in with their pet pig or snake. We finally got a response from someone who seemed normal. He said that he was a computer programmer who worked long hours and just needed a place to crash at night. My girlfriend and I met him for coffee, and things went well enough. He seemed a bit socially awkward, but that didn't really matter to us, so we let him move in." He goes on to say that's when things took a turn for the weird. First of all, he brought in a bunch of weird stuff, like these strange-looking bottles filled with colorful liquids and powders, boxes filled with what looked like animal bones and teeth, and even some preserved animal skins. It's starting to feel more and more like I'm living with some kind of mad scientist. Also, the guy never introduces himself. Call him Roommate X. I think that's funny. Another thing is that he doesn't seem to do anything except stare at his computer. I mean, literally all day long. He'll sit at his computer, typing away furiously while making these weird noises. Then he'll take a break to stare out the window for a few hours before going back to his computer. I'm starting to think that he might be some kind of hacker or something. It gets worse. He continues, "And don't get me started on the smell. The guy doesn't shower. I'm not talking like once a week or anything. I'm talking like maybe once a month. The smell is so bad that my girlfriend and I have had to open our bedroom window at night just so we can breathe. It's disgusting. We've asked him several times to shower more often, but he just shakes his head and walks away. It's starting to think that he's just some kind of animal." Then he adds another update to the story saying things have taken a turn for the bizarre. "As I was getting ready to go out earlier today, I needed to use the bathroom. However, I found that the door was locked, and I could hear Roommate X in there doing well. I can only assume he was using the toilet. I waited patiently for a few minutes, but when the door remained locked, I started to get a little irritated. Just as I was about to knock and demand that he let me in, I heard him start speaking in what I can only assume was his native language. I couldn't understand what he was saying, but the tone of his voice was clear. In a sudden panic, he was freaking out, muttering to himself at a rapid pace. It sounded like he was having a full-blown conversation with someone inside the bathroom. I stood there listening intently, trying to piece together what he was saying. It sounded like he was saying, 'Help! Help me,' repeatedly. I didn't know what to do. Should I barge into the bathroom? What if I found something horrible in there? I hesitated for a moment, torn between my curiosity and my sense of responsibility. But ultimately, I decided to wait it out. A few minutes passed, and the panicked muttering subsided. The door unlocked, and I walked in to find Roommate X sitting on the toilet, looking visibly relieved. He quickly stood up and tried to explain something to me in broken English, but all I could make out was the word ghost. Before I could respond, he abruptly stopped, turned around, and ran back out of the bathroom. I was left standing there confused. What exactly had happened in that bathroom? Was Roommate X seeing a ghost? Then he comes back with another update saying, "I've been trying to figure out what has been going on with my roommate for the past few days now. And yesterday I finally got my answer. I was in my room when I heard the familiar sound of Roommate X speaking rapidly in his native language. I couldn't understand what he was saying, but it was clear that he was agitated. Curiosity got the better of me, and I decided to peek out into the hallway. There I saw Roommate X standing in front of his closed bedroom door, gesticulating wildly. He seemed to be having a heated argument with someone on the other side. I couldn't see anyone else, but I could hear the voices clearly. I strained to listen in on their conversation, and what I heard shocked me. It wasn't just Roommate X talking. There was someone else on the other side of the door engaged in a heated back and forth with him. I couldn't make out every word, but I understood enough to know that they were talking about me. I heard phrases like, "He doesn't speak, and we need to get out of here." It became clear that roommate X had visitors, whoever they were, and they weren't happy with me. I decided to stay quiet and hope that they would leave soon. But then the unthinkable happened. Roommate X opened the door and stepped out into the hallway. Standing right behind him was a woman. She looked at me with a wild expression on her face and began speaking in rapid-fire Korean. I could tell from the tone of her voice that she was upset. Roommate X tried to calm her down, but she wouldn't listen. She kept yelling at me, though I had no idea what she was saying. Suddenly, she did something that I couldn't believe. She lunged at me and slapped me across the face. I was stunned. Couldn't believe that she'd actually hit me. Roommate X quickly intervened, grabbing his female companion by the arm and pulling her away from me. He tried to apologize to me, but I just stared back at him in disbelief. I couldn't believe that my roommate had brought his crazy girlfriend over to our apartment, and that she had actually attacked me. I was angry, confused, and scared all at the same time. I wanted to confront the woman, but roommate X stepped in front of me protectively, blocking me from getting any closer. He continued to apologize, but I just couldn't understand why this had happened. What had I done to provoke his girlfriend? I felt helpless. I had no idea what to do next. I knew that I couldn't stay in the apartment with these crazy people, but I also didn't feel safe enough to leave yet. I was trapped in my own home. It felt like a nightmare. I wanted to wake up and find that it had all been just a bad dream. But as the minutes ticked by, it became clear that this was real life, and I needed to find a way to escape this nightmare. I thought about calling the police, but what would I tell them? A crazy Korean woman had attacked me and my roommate's Korean. What were the chances that they would believe me? I felt isolated and alone, unsure of what to do next. All I knew was that I needed to get out of that apartment as fast as possible. This is insane. People always underestimate the power of the mind. You never know what kind of person you're dealing with. So what do you think about this one? If you enjoyed this content, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to hear more stories like this, subscribe to the channel to be notified when new videos are uploaded. Thanks for watching.